Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1944. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in a beautiful part of the world, very close to where my mom and sister live, Laguna Beach, California. Oh, yeah, I like to be laying on the beach there with a very special guest by the name of Paul Pfanner. Paul, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Yes, I'm popping the clutch now, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. For a guy who spends his life in the racing world, you know all about that. Now, before I give you a proper introduction, what's one little thing that maybe most people may not know about you, Paul?
I started my career by forging credentials.
Okay. All right. We got a felon on our hands today. You've got to go a little deeper into that background with me now that you've got my curiosity up.
Oh, well, yeah, that's how it started. Wanted to go to the Formula One race. It was a race at a place called Ontario Motor Speedway. And I was a teenager in high school, and there was no stopping me. I wanted to see Mario Andretti drive a Ferrari Formula One car. So being an art director at heart, I was an illustrator at that point, wanting to be maybe a cartoonist or an animator when I grew up. And I just took matters into my own hands, quite literally. And me and four of my pals went in, and we decided to also film it. So I made a video series featuring this called Forging Ahead that shows the beginning of my career. But that
Forging Ahead, very nice.
Yes, but yeah, it worked. We got in. We got to go everywhere, and I thought, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm set. This is where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do.
Very cool. I love it. Well, ingenuity, and look where it got you. So I like that. I think the statute of limitations is long worn out, so they can't come after you now. So there you go.
No, they can't. I got to know the fellow who was the president of the Speedway. He just thought it was awesome. He gave us a high five. So
good spirit there. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. Paul Pfanner is the founder, president, and CEO at Racer Media and Marketing. He's the executive publisher at Racer Magazine, a vintage motorsports magazine, and SportsCar magazine that they produce for the Sports Car Club of America. He's worked in media and marketing for more than 4 decades, having launched Formula Magazine from his parents' garage when he was just 18 years old, back when he was forging passes into races. Paul founded Pfanner Communications in 1979, and in 92 launched Racer Communications, which are best known for publishing racer, sports car, and IndyCar series magazines, as well as providing automotive and motorsports content for Speed Vision and Speed TV. And then in 2001, Paul sold a majority of Racer Communications to the Haymarket Publishing Group, and then with Rob Dyson, Chris Dyson, and Bill Sparks reacquired Racer in 2012. We'll be back to learn a lot more about Paul and his antics, but first a word from our valued sponsors. So give them a little listen, give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Keep the seatbelts on. Covercraft's newest 3-layer all-climate cover is especially engineered for moderate weather conditions, and it's treated with an extra UV-resistant formula. It's soft, it's breathable, and it's easy to store, all while pampering your paint, providing maximum UV, rain, and dust protection. If you live where it's windy, no worries. Simply add their gust guards for windy conditions to add extra protection to keep your cover in place. Your 3-layer all-climate cover is custom-tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form and fit with the quality and attention to detail that's been their tradition since 1965. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected with a Covercraft cover. And I have a deal for you. Use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at covercraft.com, and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order plus free shipping. That's right. So get 10% off with free shipping by simply using the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. When it was time to renew my collector car policy, my carrier raised my rates by a lot. But why? My usage was the same, my car's value was the same, and I had never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. The only change was their rate, and they had no reason why. What's with that? I researched my options, I spoke to others, and with American Collectors Insurance is where I now have my policy. What a difference. A live person actually answers the phone. She spent time learning about me and my Porsche Turbo, the one I call my Orange Crush, and provided a reasonable quote. American Collectors Insurance now protects my special ride. I'm saving hundreds of dollars, and I can sleep at night knowing my baby is properly insured. Why wait until your next premium is due? Give them a call today for your personal agreed value quote. Call 866-AC1-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance, classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors, automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. All right, Paul, we're back. So let's dive a little deeper into the corner. You're a racer at heart. I want you to talk more about this history of yours of publishing and so forth, and then we'll kind of bring it into the forefront of the publishing world today. The fact that you're still here and publishing and magazines have kind of gone through a little bit of a rough patch here. I want to know about how you've kept yourself relevant in this world of online internet and so forth. But let's take a little walk through history, if we may. So let's go back to, so I guess we start in the garage, right?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it was one of those things where, why not? I couldn't find parking when I was in my first year of college, so I decided to go in the media business. So, true story. So the thing that I think has been constant throughout all of it is just like racing. Racing's about managing change faster and better than the competition. So that's all the media business has been. It's always evolving, always changing, and not being resentful about change and embracing it has been kind of the hallmark of our company. And we've, multifaceted, always had an agency component. And we've run events, we've done branding, we do magazines, we do films, we do production for car companies. We do everything. And our web business started in 1997, which is ahead of the curve for most people. And that ended up being where we ended up turning into a service business, a profitable one, doing speedvision.com and then speedtv.com content for a period of time. So, it's just being open to change and thinking change is to your advantage rather than being afraid of it has been the key to it.
I love this. Back in the day, my original career for about 10 or 11 years after college was graphic design and advertising. And there was a print shop down in San Diego that we used to use. And I remember when computers were coming up and the first Mac SEs and all this, and the hot set typesetters at this printing company went on strike because they were mad because these computers were coming into play. And for a whole year, they marched out in front of that print shop. And I kept driving over there to take jobs. And I'm thinking, you guys better change because hot set type is not coming back. It's done.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it to come back, but it's not back yet.
Yeah. I just thought you got to embrace the change. And I love this about you, but it's a great analogy here for you because you love racing and you've been focused on that part of the world with your publishing because racing evolves every year, right? It's always changing too.
It's evolving in the week between races.
Yes.
It's evolving on race weekend. I like to say if you could do it now, do it. If you could have done it 5 minutes ago, kick yourself. Mm-hmm. This is what racing's about. So a lot of what we're up to is always trying to understand where we need to be moving to and where the audience is moving to. And the audience owns us. So, we do what we do for them and we don't forget it. And we end up in a place where they want to be because we realize we work for them. And some of them want print, some of them want digital, some of them want social, some of them want video. So we're trying to figure out always how to get what they want, when they want it, in the form they want it. And one of the lessons we've learned is if we're going to make magazines, they better be really good ones. They better be excellent. Right. So that's something we've done from the beginning.
Well, I've seen that trend happening as a lot of magazines went away and these specialty publications are coming out. I've had many of those publishers on this show, Magneto, 000, Linkage, all sorts of different publications that have come out that are taking a new approach to those subscribers and people of what they want to focus on. Now, you've really taken focus on automotive racing. I mean, has that always been part of your passion from that first time you kind of slipped into the gates there to watch Mario?
Yeah, my father was, in the space race. He was involved in the Apollo program, which was very cool to be around all that.
Wow.
And his friends. But he he's busy, working on the command module, but his real passion was racing. So I got to see, B&D 500 on closed circuit television, which I was completely, enraptured with. I couldn't believe that a world like that existed. I was about 9, I think. And, he supported me in that interest, and his friends were all keenly interested. So that predated everything. And that really transformed what was an unfocused and hard to educate kid into someone who wanted to learn everything about this. And I stayed absolutely, laser focused on it. Wanted to be a racing driver, of course, and I still think I can be world champion. But
of course you can.
Like all people do, anyone who's driven a racing car thinks it's just a series of bad breaks that keeps them from standing, on the top step of the podium in Monaco. But the reality is that I would have been just a hopeless wanker without the focus. I don't know what the hell I would have done.
Yeah.
And it's being passionate about something and being committed to it, I think, has been everything that's made it happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's what Cars Yeah is all about. Why I've started this podcast is people that have wrapped that passion into what they do. Tell me, Paul, about the multiple facets of your business, because you mentioned that early on, and I mentioned in your intro the different publications that you produce. Can you kind of walk us through all the different entities that you produce, you put out there, you and your team?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll start with the beginning. And the beginning was before we were a publishing company, the first few things we did were agency things. And that was in 1979. In December of 79, our first client was Interscope Racing, and they needed the collateral and the renderings of what would be the stillborn Porsche IndyCar program.
Oh, yeah, I remember that car, yeah.
Yeah, and we were busy, designing livery and proposals and collateral and everything for that. That put us in business, and Skip Barber Racing School did the visual identity for them, the logo that's still in use. I designed in the parts cage in Boxborough, Massachusetts.
Really?
Over my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
And he's been one of my longest standing friends and great guy. And, just that sort of work and that the design background helped, and that gave us an underpinning of project work that supported the launches of these magazines that we did for clubs. We did Alpha Owner Finish Line for Cal Club, region of FCCA, and newsletters and things of that like that. And we, over time, wanted to win the contract to publish SportsCar for the FCCA, which we did in 1983, summer of 83. We won it to start in January 84, but we continued to do all this sort of work, book design, calendar design, just brand design. We were even in the agency for Hill and Vaughn, Hill and Ken Vaughn's company.
Wow.
Their restoration company. So we got this kind of broad understanding, and one of my collaborators in the beginning was Jeff Swart, who I'd worked with when I was a magazine editor of a horrible magazine area. And Jeff and I more or less made this commitment to each other when we got old and supposedly rich. He's rich, I'm not. We would start a magazine someday that would rival the European magazines, and that promise took like 12, 13 years to come to pass, but we did do it. And we was we were early 20s, I think 21 or 22, when we said to ourselves, riding up to a photo shoot, we do that someday. So that's how things happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen instantly, but you got to have a lot of other gigs going on to create kind of the cash flow to get there. And we were able to attract investment and partners. Among them, have been the Dysons, who believed in us in two different eras. And with their capital and more than capital, just, really wise guidance, we've been able to grow this business pretty significantly and keep it going.
Well, it's tremendous. Jeff's been a fellow alumni member here at Cars Yeah, along with you, and known of his work and followed him and know him for not as long as you have, but I didn't realize you guys went back that far together, which is pretty darn cool. I think he's just kind of a mainstay, especially in the Porsche world, of course, and what he's done with his eye and his creativity. And he's just a nice person. When you talk with him, he's just kind and kind of quiet, but he's just done so much and he does so much. I think it's cool. So you've surrounded yourself with some really great people. It sounds like that's a key to your success.
Yeah, and to leave them alone, too. Don't give their way is the other key here.
Yes.
Because I'm surrounded by people who are more talented than I am, and in many cases far more intelligent than I am. And, I like to think of myself as the airbag that protects them.
An airbag. Now that's interesting. I'm just the airbag for the company. But Jeff was really a co-conspirator in so many things. Mm-hmm. He just had a sense of fun,
and he had this can-do spirit. I think when I met him, he was in college at Art Center, but he'd been the youngest Eagle Scout ever. His just was brilliant, technically brilliant, really just had huge ambition to do everything as well as it could be done. And it raised the bar for me. I wasn't there. I had somebody who was miles ahead of me in terms of just innate ability. And that helped me realize I probably had a little bit of that in me too, if I just reached for it. And we got a lot done together, and it got this company up and going.
It's wonderful. It's that great saying by Ronan about we are the culmination of the people we spend our time with. And, Mom was always right. Pick your friends wisely and don't hang out with the buffoons. Hang out with people that are stronger and better than you, because you'll strive to be as good as they are. And it definitely has worked for you. It's worked for me. It's worked for a lot of the guests I've had on the show here. I want to hear about, and it sounds like you've mentioned a few already, Dyson's, Zwart, others, driving inspirations in your life. Is there a key person, a mentor, maybe somebody that's been highly influential? You mentioned Jeff, so that could be your guy, or maybe there's a lot in your life.
He's one of them, yeah. Obviously, I lost my dad early, but he passed away right as all this was beginning. But he passed on his 48th birthday, which
oh my gosh, so young,
and right at the beginning of Formula, right? And all these things. And there was one thing he wanted was to go out and do what he did, was live his life. He went to war when he was underage and was hunting U-boats in the North Atlantic when he was 17 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So, he just instilled in me and my sister, go for it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Go for the life you want, and to show up for your destiny. Be there. And that he's the most influential person, and I had him for far too short a time in my life. And I think another, I have to say that Nick Craw, who was the president of the SCCA for 17 years, the president of ACUS, the president of the FIA Senate, I think BMW's first champion in IMSA, he became a mentor and someone who really has helped me understand the potential of what we do and how it's just been on my side and my company's side. I also think that Bill Sparks, who is the founding publisher, he's very quiet like Jeff, but very smart. He keeps, the business on the rails. Yeah. So he was a photographer when I met him, a creative, like Jeff, and he also had a business background. So that's important. And I think we have the best magazine editor ever in the motor racing space, and that is Lawrence Foster. He's our editor-in-chief, and he's a degreed aerodynamicist that turned down a job at Williams to be a motorsports journalist. So,
wow.
We're lucky to have the people we have.
Yeah, very nice. I love it. How would you give advice to somebody who maybe wants to go into the career path you've chosen today? Because it's changed and evolved so very much. We talked about that earlier, but it really in the last 10 years has really modified and reinvented itself in many ways. Is there any kind of mentoring you could do to somebody listening that thinks, this sounds like something I want to do?
Well, first understand what it is you want to do. Aim for where the puck is moving to. Don't aim at what it was. And I don't want to be a grief counselor when people want to show up for what was a media company in the 1990s or the early 2000s. That doesn't exist anymore. And I think that creatives and editorial people now, they're doing things that are different than my generation did, the generation that 2 generations that followed me. They're becoming just creators, period. They're not just journalists. They're not just writers. You've got to understand all the dimensions your content can be created in. I think Marshall Pruitt's a very good example of what can be done, and he's terrific. Robin Miller was a broadcaster and a writer, but he had multiple dimensions to his ability, and he was actually built for the modern age in some ways. Marshall's really exploited all of the tools that are available to be complete. So think about that and do the homework. Be persistent. Don't give up. Prove to the world you need to be there. I had to go through quite a long process before I was legitimately in. It wasn't easy. It took 5 years of really being legitimately earning my way in. It's not an easy path.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just such a moving target these days. I just look at since I've been doing this podcast, how things have changed and how many more podcasts there are out there and how it evolves into other opportunities as well. So it's ever changing, just like we spoke earlier in our talk about racing. It's always modifying, changing. I mean, almost on a daily basis. So yeah, get educated. That's key.
But be the change. Don't be a victim of the change. Try to always have something new in the development of who you are and what you're trying to be and do, and make people feel something and make people think, and you'll have a career.
Yeah, don't be the hot lead setter walking in front of the print shop. There you go.
With your sign.
Get your sign, yeah.
Don't be a victim.
Yeah, don't be yeah, exactly. We're going to take a short break. Thank our sponsors. As we come back, I want to ask you about a big challenge that you faced along the way, so keep that thought in mind, and we'll be right back. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. Did you know that Cars Yeah is in the top 1% of all podcasts based on listenership, according to Libsyn, the premier RSS feed for podcasts in the United States? That's right. And Cars Yeah is the only 5-day-a-week automotive-focused podcast for you to get your message into the ears of thousands of listeners daily from all over the world. Plus, DuPont Registry recommended Cars Yeah is one of their top 10 car podcasts for you to enjoy. Cars Yeah has experienced tremendous growth, plus your ads are evergreen, meaning they never go away. And more listeners find Cars Yeah every day for their daily dose of automotive inspiration. Do you want to expose your brand to a highly targeted list of automotive enthusiasts in a very unique and very personal way? Well, I can help you. Contact me, Mark Green, at mark@carsyeah.com or through the website at carsyeah.com today to learn more. So, Paul, let's talk about this big challenge, big failure, big obstacle. What it is not as important as the lesson it taught you so you can move forward in a positive way. So take us on a little bit of a rough ride around the track.
Well, this is I think it's a 2-lap story.
Oh, great.
There was an echo of it. Yeah. Things tend to reoccur. You learn if this is my 49th year doing this, so next year will be my 50th year,
Wow.
50th year getting paid to do this. And in late 2005, after I'd sold the company, I'd been at what was the Haymarket Media. I'd been the president for 5 years, working for an English company, very good company, mind you, and no complaints about them. But I just wasn't for me to be an employee of that company. I wanted to leave, and I left and took a leap of faith with a number of the people I worked with. We were doing fine for the first 2 years doing the agency work, and we were contractually forbidden to go into the media business for a couple of years, but got together with a partner, and we launched a website called OnCars.com on May 19th, 2008.
Oh, tough year. Yeah.
And it was kind of presaged all of the video automotive websites, and it was a very high quality. It was, the director, producer was Rick Graves, who we'd worked with at Formula, Neil Moret, who's a precision driver and had been the Jim Russell Scholarship winner, and he'd been an automotive designer, was on Camera Talent, and it was Bill, myself, and our sales lead from Racer, Celia Shambaugh was with us. A couple of other great folks were working on it, Paul again, our art director, and we went out to the world, and everybody loved it, but the world collapsed. There was no business.
Right.
It just, the music stopped after 2 months in, or 3 months in, and it was stunning. I mean, we got to watch automotive companies fail as we were in the building talking. visited General Motors on the day they declared bankruptcy.
Uh,
But out of that, we got the opportunity. We pivoted. We were doing short-form documentaries. We did one for Mazda called Rev, which was a 30-episodic, the essence of racing, intellectually, emotionally, and technically. That got a lot of views in millions. And then we did a series for Tesla called Launch Vehicle, which was their launch vehicle to launch the Model S. We used the prototype. We were hired to do it.
Wow.
And so we got our hands on the prototype, working, with design team. And to me, it was a blessing in disguise. We got to see the future again. And this didn't end well. It was not a money-making adventure. We didn't let the company go down, but we kept the company alive. My partner in that business was Jay Penske, and he was going through similar challenges because he was at a young stage of Penske Media. It didn't exist then. It was another name and another smaller company, and very turbulent for both of us. And we didn't have unlimited capital. We had to figure out how to stay alive through the storm. I think it served both of us. He's clearly gone on and learned a lot more than I did because his company is now a massive success with some major brands. But what came in handy is we still were in the game. We were still alive. I kept the agency alive, and it was called Pfanner Communications, and we kept generating business. We paid our debts. We came out into the sunshine, and lo and behold, the opportunity to reacquire Racer was upon us all within 10, 11 months of the darkest hour. And had we not done that, there would be no conversation right now.
Would you say the takeaway from that is obviously what you said earlier, don't let things defeat you, don't give up, the famous Racer's motto, but what's the key thing that enabled you to look around and go, okay, what can we do with this? We've been dealt this hand. It's wiped out so many people. How can we see our way out of this darkness?
Well, I can't say I was all sunshine and rainbows throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, of course not.
It was daunting.
Yeah.
And, I personally went without salary for a very long time to make sure that the people that were owed money were paid. That has been a recent, circumstance again with the echo of that during the past year. But at the end of the day, our goal is to find a way through, try to be honest when people call you. If you're having a problem, tell them the truth. Don't deflect it. And, don't solely rely on the past saying, hey, we've always paid our bills. Find a way to pay your bills. And that's what we've had to do since the first quarter of 2020, which we saw more than a third of our business go away.
That was that little thing called COVID?
Yeah, but it was like falling down an elevator shaft and not knowing if you had the James Bond magnetic suit on to catch you.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I think that there's so many businesses that just went through this, and we lost so many customers who simply ceased to be in business. It just wiped them out. And I think the ones who've come through have learned a lot. Nobody's completely whole, I think, within the motorsports business. There were a lot of hits taken. There were massive losses in some of the bigger organizations. But I think everybody's wiser and more efficient. And the silver lining for us, as we begin to stand upright completely again, and we're profitable and have been profitable this year, and we're recovering. It's slow, but we're coming out of it, is that we grew massively. We beyond any expectation digitally. We're up 60-70%.
Wow. Congratulations. Reinvention again.
Yeah.
The phoenix from the fire again.
But the key is, staying in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, bravo to you. Who would have thought after the recessionary period of the meltdown of finances in the world and then going through this, it's like, what? Oh my gosh. I was talking with somebody the other day about that. I said, do you ever think anything like this could happen? He goes, only in movies, It's just bizarre.
It is bizarre. And, I think every single person inside the company sacrificed to survive. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful to them. And our contributors and many others have sacrificed, and it's still not over. We're still, like many companies, we're still, catching up, and we still don't get paid quickly by even the larger companies. And I mention all this because that's the general economy in the world now. And I think that the motorsports sector has a chance to really come out of this rolling hard and fast because we see such energy there. We see so much gathering speed, and the amount of planning into 22 too is really encouraging, and the audience growth, things like the Formula One race here recently in Austin, the surge of IndyCar this year, the audience surges we've seen in IndyCar, the record Rolex 24 in terms of audience this year, and despite all the bashing of NASCAR by some, we don't see the problem in the metrics on our website. They're stout. There's a really big audience for NASCAR. So I'm encouraged. It's still not over. Like I said, the entire industry took a hit, but can't feel sorry for yourself because there's number one thing is stay in the game, keep rolling. Movement is life in racing.
Yep. There you go. Nice quote. Hey, let's have some fun and talk about a really special vehicle in your history. You're a guy who's been around for a while. I'm guessing there's a car somewhere in your past that really stands out for you. Maybe share a memory about that special ride.
Road car or race car? Because they're both.
It could be either one. If it rolls on rubber, I love it.
Okay. Well, I think the spark that powered me throughout all of this is a car called a Eldon Mark 8 Formula Ford.
Okay.
And when I was just out of high school, I opened the Auto Week, and this car had won the World Cup of Formula Ford in England, and it looked really futuristic and outrageous. And the ad said the world's fastest Formula Ford. And of course, I wanted to go see it. So we called the shop and walked in the door of the race shop, and I sat in the Eldon, and here I am. That was my motivation. That was the carrot. And I still own two of them.
You do?
Yeah, they're original. They're not restored. One of them is absolutely not restored, but the other one is restored to an absolutely original condition.
Wow.
So I've never given up on that original inspiration. And I love Formula Ford. I love driving them. I love the people I know in the Formula Ford category. There hasn't been a lot of Formula Ford racing from 2008 till now because we're dealing with all of the things I've just talked about and the world at large trying to grow the business. But next year, at 50 years in, I want to finish what I started, go back and race these cars and feel the joy of driving a Formula Ford at speed on a racetrack, because that's why I originally did all this.
What fun. That's a really beautiful car. The profile of that car to me, the front end has a bit of a Gurney Eagle nose to it, the way that thing launches out. It's very much kind of a wedgish shape, if my memory is serving me right, because I used to race with the Formula Ford groups. I was driving a Lotus 18 Formula Junior, so I was always at the back. But it's the only place they could figure out how to put us. And John Shirley, who's a very well-known collector, had one. Probably still has it, I'm not sure. And there was another guy up here in the Northwest who had one. So we raced with Sovereign, and we kind of battled back and forth in the back as back markers because we just didn't have the power and the brakes. But those cars, there was a few guys that had those cars, and I always thought they were beautiful, especially in profile form. They just looked cool. They looked like a miniature Formula One car. And some people may go, what? Come on. But I thought they did. They're just cool.
At the time, and they were basically a common chassis to the Formula 3 car and Formula B car they made. It's the same chassis underneath, and much of the bodywork was common. So, but this is where Tony Bryce, who went to Formula One, started. Tim Bryce, his brother, Danny Sullivan, Harvey Loyendike, even Paul Page, the announcer, drove an Eldon. And my hero was a guy named Alan Hawley, who's still my teammate. And Alan and I've shared these cars, and he was the Cal Club Driver of the Year in 1972. And being able to race with him and go out to the track with him and be around him is great. And also those people that I met at Automotive Development that night I walked in, they turned out to be, significant in my life because they eventually launched with race cars, and I was part of that whole process of what they did and where they went. And, many of us went on to careers and long careers in racing. And Mike Hull, who was the team manager, now runs Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Very cool. I'm going to crawl on your head and be your automotive psychologist here today. If you were manifest as a vehicle, what would Paul be, but more importantly, why?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'd want to be a Lucid.
A what?
And a Lucid.
A Lucid. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to be what I was. I want to be what I'll be next, always.
I get you.
And every time I see something new or different that causes me to think differently, I want to know about it and I want to understand it. Oftentimes I fall in love with it, and I hold on to the things from my past that really motivate me. And I think that's sentimental, but the sentiment stops at, well, what about now? and what about next? And, there's a saying I love, all we have is the eternal now, and that eternal now is heading somewhere, and my mind is always looking at what's next. And I see something like that, and I look at the way the world's going, and I'm not one of these that's got to have a fire-breathing, gasoline-burning engine. If it's faster, if it's more whatever, I'm going to be interested in it. So I'm open-minded in all directions.
Very, I love that. Peter Rawlinson, I believe, is behind Lucid Motors. And I just today, kind of serendipitous that we're talking about this, somebody on my Facebook post posted a first sighting out on the road of one of those vehicles.
I haven't seen one. All I've seen is images.
Yeah. I thought, whoa, driving around? That's pretty cool. So I like it, but I like the meaning behind the answer to that more than anything. Very nicely done, Paul. I like to talk to people a little bit about how they like to give back to people in the automotive sector. Are there some nice ways that you like to do that?
Well, I think the one thing that stands out, and it's been in the motorsport sector primarily, but in 1989, Jeremy Shaw, who's a journalist broadcaster, and we put together kind of a 25th anniversary of Formula Ford event, which was fine, but we looked around and there were people roughly our age or a little bit younger and significantly older, and we thought about doing one the next year. And then Jeremy said, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We raised all this sponsorship, raised all this money. Why don't we find a way to help these young drivers, many of whom don't have the resources, to help them get a leg up and get recognized? And so I supported Jeremy in launching the Team USA Scholarship, which has now been running 31 years. And, we just had two drivers on the podium here, and Brands Hatch, and they're racing again this weekend at Silverstone in the Walter Hayes Trophy. And Joseph Newgarden, who's now been an IndyCar champion, was one of ours who, won in his category in festival. Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta were the early ones.
Wow!
But the list of young people that have gone through the scholarship is impressive, and almost every one of them has made a mark in the sport. And I like to look at that, and most recently have been involved with a scholarship program in the memory of Rod Campbell, who was Campbell and Company, the PR company for Ford Performance and many other things he was involved in, and a longtime friend and mentor and another great influence in my life, and trying to help young people and give them a chance to become in the media and marketing side of the sport and automotive as well.
Very nice. Bravo. How about great reading? You're a publisher. Is there a great book perhaps you've read in the last year or two that you'd like to share?
Well, I haven't read a book past year, if you can believe that.
You read a lot of magazines.
I read a lot of magazines, and I used to read books constantly on flying on airplanes. I'm not flying on airplanes as much because I'm tired of looking at a screen. I want to sit and read a book, and I don't necessarily want to sit and read a magazine. I like to say that one of my favorite magazines that I read and enjoy is Motorsport magazine in the UK. I don't think they're the other us, but so many of the people that work on Motorsport are colleagues. Many of them have written for us and work with us, and it's the oldest racing and maybe automotive magazine in the world. I think it'll be 100 years old in 2024.
Oh my gosh!
But they do an amazing job, and I'm a big fan. And they're deep reads, and it's kind of the origin point of, I think, the automotive enthusiast culture. So you're not just looking at racing; you're dealing with kind of the automotive culture and enthusiast culture and its origins, because the magazine was there during the Brooklyn's era.
Yeah, tremendous.
And so that to me is the other extreme of the Lucid. You got to know where you come from and where you're going.
Yeah, I love it. Very, very cool. Well, I'm going to take you on the ultimate drive today. You get to pick any vehicle in the world that I'll provide you with, any person, living or deceased, and you can be driving anywhere. What does that ultimate drive look like for you? Now, this could be a racetrack if you want.
Well, I think my ultimate drive would be to be racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans with Jeff Swart as my teammate and Patrick Long to make us look good.
Nice choice. Yeah, to another past guest
and
here.
If we have 4 drivers, I want to have our mutual friend Patrick Dempsey in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's good fun. But that's been my dream always, is to race there. And I know it was Jeff's, and I'd like to be in the Porsche.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think I'm a little too old for a Porsche LMDH car, but certainly not too old to drive a GT car based upon what I've seen.
Yeah. Great group of guys, great cars, my favorites. So there you go. That sounds like one heck of an ultimate drive. You've taken us on an ultimate drive today, my friend. It's been so nice to connect with you, and I really appreciate you taking time. I want to do a shout out to a Cars Yeah listener, Jason Hagee. He's the one who originally suggested I reach out to you. And of course, Dan Namonti, Skip Barber Racing School, for putting me together with Paul today. Two great people. Thank you very much, Jason and Dan. Before I let you go, could you share maybe a success quote, inspiring words of wisdom with us?
Well, there's one that I live by is life works with commitment. It doesn't work without it. And sometimes it's hard. You know, don't talk yourself out of it. You know, if it's hard, if you crashed and burned, even in business, make sure you clean up the mess. Pick up your momentum as quickly as you can. Life's about, you know, getting back up to speed. Everybody goes off road occasionally.
Yep.
So, racing teaches you to recover more than anything else. And that's what I live by. And, you know, the people I know that are successful, from Roger Penske to Jeff Sword, all have that in common.
Well said. How can my listeners learn more about Racer Magazine, Vintage Motorsport Magazine, and SportsCar Magazine?
Well, if you want a SportsCar Magazine, and I need to say this, my life wouldn't have happened without the SCCA, because that was my family after my father passed, and the people I met there shaped me. And the magazine is, I like to think of it as the Bible. I'm honored that our company has published it since 1984, I was the world's worst editor in 1979. The art group.
You're too humble.
But I want to say that join the Sports Car Club of America if you want to be part of the sport, and you'll get the magazine. And go to info.racer.com if you want to learn about the magazines. Both Racer and Vintage Motorsport are available there in print or digital. Info.racer.com and racer.com, which is our flagship media and commentary site. You know, we're well on our way to more than 10 million users this year.
Wow.
And we're up nearly 65% over the year before, which was up.
Incredible. Wow.
It is incredible. We're blown away. And it'll be 4 million more users than the year before, and that was 2 million users before the pre-COVID year of 2019. So thank you for visiting our website, but please buy our magazines. That helps us pay the bills. And, you know, follow us on social. And VintageMotorsport.com is about to go through a metamorphosis. We put Racer has been on the USA Today Sports Media Group platform since mid-2018, and that has allowed us to be mobile forward and to have the domain authority of USA Today's, you know, very 120 sites and well over 100 million users across all their platforms. So that's been part of what's helped us grow. But what's great now is Vintage Motorsport is moving onto that platform for 2022, which will allow us to see similar scaling opportunity for the brand. And I think with the interest in vintage racing and the growing interest in classic and vintage cars, I think we're going to be well positioned.
I think so. Sounds like it for sure. You have taken us on a wonderful ride today, and I want to thank you for that. Listeners, you can find links to all of these on Paul Pfanner, that's Pfanner, on his website page here at carsyeah.com. So check them out. If you love motorsports, you love vintage racing, you love sports cars, all of these are definitely should be showing up in your mailbox very soon. So check them all out on the Cars Yeah website. Paul, thanks for being so generous today with your time and your expertise. I'm so glad we were finally able to connect. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. This was fun. Cars Yeah is proud to support our veterans, which is why I've teamed up with our nonprofit partner, Tech Force Foundation, through its Veterans at Work Military Transition Campaign. The tech shortage is very real, and our country needs skilled, qualified techs to keep our cars, trucks, airplanes, and fleets rolling. When so many vets build their skills in maintaining and servicing vehicles when deployed, TechForce helps transition those skills to jobs as professional technicians when they come home. Learn more about TechForce Foundation and its Veterans at Work Military Transition Fund at techforce.org today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.